Naomi Blake never imagined that the cruelest words she'd ever hear would come from the man whose home she'd eventually call her own. When a cold-hearted mafia boss publicly mocked women like her at an elite networking event, she walked out with her dignity intact, only to discover the next morning that he was her new employer. What he didn't know was that his mute daughter would choose Naomi over everyone else, cracking open a heart he'd sealed shut for a decade. But when a rival crime lord threatened to destroy everything Naomi loved, including her own son, she had to decide: run from the danger or fight for a family that was never supposed to be hers. This is a story about redemption written in blood, second chances carved from grief, and a love so fierce it could burn down empires. Subscribe and tell me where you're watching from, because what happens next will leave you speechless. The fluorescent lights in the nursing home buzzed overhead like angry bees. Naomi Blake pushed her cart down the hallway, her feet aching in her worn sneakers. She'd been on shift for 10 hours straight, and her back protested every time she bent to help Mrs. Patterson into bed or lifted Mr. Chen for his evening medication. "You're an angel, Naomi," Mrs. Patterson called out as Naomi passed her room. "See you tomorrow." "See you tomorrow," Naomi promised, even though she didn't know if that was true. Her phone vibrated in her pocket just as she reached the staff locker room. The number made her stomach drop. Lincoln Elementary. That was her son's school. "Ms. Blake?" The secretary's voice was stiff, professional. "I'm calling about the tuition payment. It was returned insufficient funds." The words hit like a punch. Naomi leaned against the locker, closing her eyes. There must be a mistake. I deposited my check Friday. We'll need payment by Monday, or we'll have to discuss Jaden's enrollment status." Naomi's throat tightened. "I'll handle it. I promise." She sat in her car for 20 minutes after the call ended, just breathing. The check had cleared. She'd watched it process. But her ex, Marcus, had access to that account, the one they'd set up when Jaden was born. She should have closed it years ago. Her phone lit up again. A text from the agency. "High-paying position available. Private estate, immediate placement. Reply yes for details." Naomi stared at the message. She'd been with Caring Hearts Home Health for 3 years. They knew her, trusted her, but they paid minimum wage, and private placements paid triple, sometimes more. She typed yes. The restaurant was too fancy. Naomi knew that the moment she walked through the doors and saw the chandelier that probably cost more than her car. The Caring Hearts agency held these networking events twice a year, a chance for caregivers to meet potential private clients in a casual setting. There was nothing casual about women in silk dresses and men in suits that fit like they were painted on. Naomi smoothed down her black dress, the only nice one she owned, and tried not to feel like an imposter. She'd pulled her natural hair back into a professional bun, applied minimal makeup, and borrowed earrings from her neighbor. She looked fine, professional, but she felt exposed. "Naomi!" Jennifer from the agency waved her over to a group near the bar. "Come meet some people." Naomi pasted on a smile and joined them. Jennifer introduced her to a couple looking for help with their aging mother, a businessman who needed someone for overnight shifts with his father, and a woman who wanted a nanny-caregiver combo. "You have experience with children?" the woman asked, eyeing Naomi's curves with barely concealed judgment. "I have a 7-year-old son," Naomi said evenly, "and I've worked with pediatric patients." The woman's smile was thin. "I'll keep your information on file." Translation: no. Naomi excused herself to get water from the bar. Her feet hurt, her pride hurt more, and she was seriously reconsidering this whole thing when she heard it. "I don't date curvy women." The voice was deep, casual, cruel in its carelessness. Laughter followed, male voices agreeing, joking. Naomi froze, the glass of water halfway to her lips. She turned slowly. A group of men stood near the window, 3 of them in expensive suits, but one stood out, tall, maybe 6'3", with dark hair swept back, a strong jaw, and tattoos that crept up from his collar. His suit probably cost more than 3 months of her rent. He held a glass of whiskey like he owned the world. And maybe he did, because everyone around him listened when he spoke. "Skinny, brunette, legs for days," he continued, gesturing with his glass. "That's my type. Always has been." "What about personality?" one of his companions asked, grinning. "Personality doesn't keep you warm at night," the man shot back. More laughter. Naomi's face burned. She set her water down carefully, her hands trembling. She knew that he wasn't talking about her specifically. He didn't even know she existed. But the words landed anyway, sharp and cutting, because she'd heard versions of them her whole life. Too big, too much, not the right shape. She gathered her purse and turned to leave, but her heel caught on the bar stool. She stumbled, catching herself on the bar with an audible thump. Several people turned, including him. Their eyes met across the room. His were dark, almost black, and for a second, something flickered there. Recognition of what he'd said, maybe, or just curiosity about why this woman was staring at him like she wanted to set him on fire. Naomi lifted her chin, held his gaze for 3 long seconds, then walked out. She made it to her car before the tears came. The call came at 7 the next morning. Naomi was making Jaden breakfast, scrambled eggs and toast, nothing fancy, when her phone rang. "Naomi, it's Jennifer. I have amazing news." Naomi switched the phone to speaker so she could flip the eggs. "Yeah? That private position I texted you about? They want you. It's a live-in situation with a 7-year-old girl. The family is well-connected. They're offering $4,000 a week." Naomi nearly dropped the spatula. $4,000? Plus room and board for you and Jaden. They have a full guest suite. The child has special needs. She's mute, hasn't spoken in over a year. They need someone nurturing, patient, experienced. "What's the catch?" Naomi asked, because there was always a catch. "The father is particular, private. He runs several businesses, so he's gone a lot. But he wants daily reports, structured schedules, complete professionalism." Naomi plated Jaden's eggs and set them in front of him. Her son looked up at her with those big brown eyes, Marcus's eyes, and smiled. "What kind of businesses?" Naomi asked carefully. "Import-export, real estate, investments. Look, I won't lie, the family has a reputation, but they pay on time, they're fair, and that little girl needs help. No one else has lasted more than a month." "Why not?" Jennifer hesitated. "The father is intense, but you can handle intense. You've handled worse." Naomi thought about Marcus showing up drunk at her apartment, about the eviction notice she'd fought off last year, about Jaden's school threatening to kick him out over a bounced check. "When do they want to meet me?" she asked. The estate sat behind iron gates and stone walls like something out of a movie. Naomi's car made embarrassing rattling sounds as she drove up the long driveway past manicured lawns and marble fountains. "Mum, is this a castle?" Jaden pressed his face against the window, eyes huge. "It's just a big house, baby." "It's a really big house." Naomi parked near the main entrance, suddenly very aware of the rust spot on her car door and the crack in her windshield. A woman in her 30s waited at the top of the steps, brown hair pulled back, kind eyes, wearing a simple grey dress. "You must be Naomi." She smiled warmly. "I'm Carla. I manage the household staff. Come on in, both of you." The inside was even more impressive. Marble floors, a sweeping staircase, artwork that probably cost more than Naomi would earn in 5 years, but it was also oddly cold, beautiful, but sterile. "Mr. Moretti will meet with you in his office," Carla said, leading them down a hallway. "Jaden, would you like to see the game room? We have every console you can imagine." Jaden looked at Naomi, who nodded. He followed Carla eagerly, already asking about which games they had. Naomi waited in the hallway, smoothing her dress, checking her reflection in a nearby mirror. Professional, capable, confident. The office door opened, and her heart stopped. It was him, the man from the restaurant. Tall, tattooed, devastating, and clearly annoyed to see her. Recognition hit his face a second later. His jaw tightened. "You," he said flatly. "You," Naomi echoed, her voice colder than ice. They stared at each other for a long moment. Naomi's mind raced. She should leave. Walk out right now, but $4,000 a week, room and board. Jaden's tuition. "I didn't know you'd applied through Caring Hearts," he said finally. "I didn't know you were the client. If you want to leave, do you want me to leave?" Naomi cut him off, lifting her chin. Something shifted in his expression. Surprise, maybe. People probably didn't interrupt him often. "I want someone who can help my daughter," he said. "Can you?" "I can. I'm good at my job. Even if you hate me?" "I don't know you well enough to hate you, Mr. Moretti. I just know you have terrible taste and worse manners." His eyes widened slightly. Then, impossibly, the corner of his mouth twitched. "Fair enough," he said. "Come in, let's talk about Lucia." Lucia Moretti was small for 7, with dark curls and her father's eyes. She sat in the corner of a massive playroom, surrounded by expensive toys she wasn't touching. Instead, she drew in a notebook, her hand moving in careful, deliberate strokes. "Lucia," Dante said from the doorway, "this is Naomi. She's going to spend time with you." The girl looked up. Her eyes swept over Naomi once, then returned to her drawing. Naomi knelt slowly, keeping her distance. "Hi, Lucia. You're an artist, huh? I used to draw when I was your age. Not very well, but I tried." Lucia's hand stilled. "Can I see what you're working on?" Naomi asked. "Only if you want to show me." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then Lucia carefully turned her notebook around. It was a picture of a garden. Flowers in bright colors, a bench, a fountain. Beautiful and lonely. "That's gorgeous," Naomi said softly. "Is that the garden here?" Lucia nodded. "I'd love to see it sometime. Would you show me?" Another nod. Then Lucia did something that made Dante's breath catch audibly. She stood, walked over to Naomi, and held out her hand. Naomi took it gently. Lucia's small fingers wrapped around hers, trusting and warm. "Okay," Naomi whispered. "Let's go see those flowers." As they left the room, Naomi glanced back. Dante stood frozen in the doorway, his expression unreadable. But his hands were clenched at his sides, and his jaw worked like he was holding back words, or maybe tears. That night, Naomi was settling Jaden into their guest suite, which was bigger than her entire apartment, when a knock came at the door. Dante stood in the hallway, still in his suit, looking uncomfortable. "She held your hand," he said without preamble. "She did. She hasn't done that with anyone since—" He trailed off, then seemed to regroup. "The agency said you'd want a written contract. I had my lawyer draw one up." He held out a folder. Naomi took it, flipped it open. 4,000 a week, full benefits, room and board for 2, a signing bonus. "This is generous," she said carefully. "I pay for quality." His eyes met hers. "I need someone Lucia can trust, someone who won't leave when things get difficult." "Things get difficult everywhere, Mr. Moretti. Call me Dante." He shifted his weight, clearly unused to explaining himself. "At the restaurant, what I said, that was cruel, shallow, hurtful. Yeah." He looked away. "I didn't know you'd hear it. Does that make it better?" "No." He met her eyes again. "It doesn't. I was showing off, being an ass. It's what I do. You should stop, probably." Something almost like a smile crossed his face. "You don't pull punches, do you?" "Life's too short," Naomi said. "And your daughter needs help." "I'm good at what I do, but I need you to understand something." "What's that?" "I'm not here for you. I'm here for Lucia. Whatever else happens, whatever you think or say or believe about women like me, that doesn't matter. Your daughter matters." Dante was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "Agreed," he said. "She's all that matters." He turned to leave, then paused. "There's a charity thing here tomorrow night," he said. "Business associates, investors, a lot of drinking. A lot of," he gestured vaguely, "men who think they own the world. I'd feel better if you stayed upstairs with Lucia. Keep your door locked." Something in his voice made Naomi's skin prickle. "Is that a normal request? In my world?" "Yeah." He looked at her steadily. "I can't change what I am or what I do, but I can keep you safe while you're under my roof. That's the deal." "Okay," Naomi said slowly. "We'll stay upstairs." Dante nodded once and left. Naomi closed the door, her heart pounding. She looked around the beautiful, expensive room and wondered, not for the first time, what she'd just agreed to. The party was loud. Music and laughter filtered up through the floors, even though Naomi and Lucia were in the farthest wing of the house. Jaden had fallen asleep hours ago, exhausted from exploring the estate grounds. Lucia sat beside Naomi on the couch, watching an animated movie with the subtitles on. "Your dad throws big parties, huh?" Naomi said softly. Lucia nodded, her expression troubled. "Do you like them?" Lucia shook her head firmly. "Me either," Naomi admitted. "Too many people. Too much noise." Lucia looked up at her, something like relief in her eyes. She pointed at the screen where the characters were having a quiet moment in a garden. "That's better," Naomi agreed. "Quiet is nice." Lucia leaned against her side. Naomi's heart squeezed. This little girl was starving for connection, for someone who understood her, who didn't push her to speak or perform, or be something she wasn't ready to be. Around midnight, footsteps echoed in the hallway, heavy, unsteady, then a bang against the door. "Hey, anyone in there?" A man's voice, slurred and loud. Lucia jerked upright, fear flashing across her face. "It's okay," Naomi whispered. She stood, positioning herself between Lucia and the door. "Stay on the couch, honey." "Come on, open up." Another bang. "I saw someone gorgeous go up here earlier. Don't be shy." Naomi pulled out her phone, texting Carla. "Someone's outside our door. Drunk. Please send help." "I can be real nice," the man continued, jiggling the door handle. "Real friendly. Just open the door." Naomi's hands shook. The lock would hold. She'd checked it twice, but the man's voice was getting angrier, more insistent. Then she heard it. Footsteps, fast and purposeful. "Marcus." Dante's voice was calm. Too calm. "What the hell are you doing up here?" "Dante, there's a woman. I know she works for me and this is a private floor." "Oh, come on, man, she's just—" The sound that followed was sharp and brutal, a body hitting a wall, a grunt of pain. "You don't touch this door," Dante said, his voice dropping to something lethal. "You don't come near this floor. You don't even think about the people behind this door. Are we clear?" "Jesus, Dante. Are we clear?" Yeah, we're clear. Get out, now." Footsteps retreated. Then a soft knock on the door. "Naomi, it's me. He's gone." Naomi unlocked the door with trembling hands. Dante stood there, his shirt untucked, his knuckles red. Behind him, the hallway was empty. "You okay?" he asked. "We're fine, Lucia." "I know." He looked past her to where Lucia sat on the couch, pale and shaking. His expression crumbled for just a second before he rebuilt it. "I'm sorry. That shouldn't have happened." "Who was he?" "No one important, and he won't be back." Naomi believed him. The way Dante said it, flat, final, left no room for doubt. "Thank you," she said quietly. Dante's eyes met hers. "I meant what I said. You're under my roof. That means something." He left before she could respond. Naomi locked the door again and returned to Lucia, who immediately crawled into her lap. The little girl was trembling, her hands gripping Naomi's shirt like a lifeline. "It's okay," Naomi whispered, rocking her gently. "You're safe, I promise, you're safe." But as she held Lucia close, feeling the girl's rapid heartbeat against her chest, Naomi wondered if that was true, if anyone in this house was really safe, or if she just walked herself and her son into something far more dangerous than an unpaid tuition bill. The next morning, Dante was gone before sunrise. Carla brought breakfast to the suite, fresh fruit, pastries, juice, and an envelope. "From Mr. Peretti," she said, setting the tray down. Her eyes were kind but worried. "Are you okay? After last night?" "We're fine." Naomi opened the envelope. Inside was a check, double her weekly salary, and a handwritten note on heavy cardstock. "I'm moving you to the East Wing. More private, better security. The room is bigger. Your son will have his own space. This is non-negotiable." Beneath it was another line, the handwriting slightly messier, like he'd added it last. "I'm sorry." "He wants to move us?" Naomi looked up at Carla. "The East Wing is where the family rooms are," Carla explained quietly. "It's the most protected part of the house. No one goes there without permission, not even business associates." "Where does he sleep?" "That wing, down the hall from where you'd be." Naomi felt something shift in her chest. This wasn't just about safety. This was about proximity, about keeping her close. "Is that normal?" she asked. "For staff?" Carla smiled sadly. "You're not just staff, honey. Not to Lucia. And after what happened last night," she lowered her voice, "Dante doesn't apologize. Ever. The fact that he wrote that note, that means something." Jaden bounded into the room, already dressed and full of energy. "Mom, can Lucia and I explore the garden today? Carla said there's a maze." Lucia appeared in the doorway, still in her pajamas, her hair a mess of dark curls. She looked at Naomi hopefully. "After breakfast and getting dressed," Naomi said. "Both of you, deal?" They both nodded eagerly. Carla caught Naomi's eye. "The East Wing is ready whenever you are. I'll help you move your things." The new suite was stunning. 2 bedrooms connected by a shared living space, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the garden, and a bathroom with a tub big enough to swim in. Jaden claimed his room immediately, whooping about the gaming setup already installed. Lucia helped Naomi unpack, carefully arranging books on shelves and folding clothes with serious concentration. The girl moved through the space like she belonged there, like having Naomi close felt natural. "You've been here before?" Naomi asked. Lucia nodded, pointing to the room next door. "That's your room." Another nod. Naomi's heart squeezed. Dante had put them right next to his daughter, in the family wing, where she'd be safe, where she'd be his responsibility. "Can I ask you something?" Naomi said gently, sitting on the bed. Lucia climbed up beside her. "Do you ever want to talk? I mean, with your voice?" Lucia's expression shuttered immediately. She looked away. "It's okay if you don't," Naomi added quickly. "I'm not trying to push you, I just want to understand." Lucia was quiet for a long moment. Then she picked up a small notebook she carried everywhere and wrote in careful letters, "Talking makes people leave." Naomi read the words twice, her throat tight. Oh, honey, who left? Lucia pointed to a photograph on the dresser, one Naomi had noticed earlier, but not really looked at. A beautiful woman with dark hair and Lucia's eyes, her hand resting on a very pregnant belly. Beside her stood a younger, almost unrecognizable Dante. He was smiling, actually smiling. Your mom, Naomi whispered. Lucia nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. Naomi pulled her close. Lucia, listen to me. Your mom didn't leave because of anything you did or said. Sometimes people leave because life is unfair and cruel, and nothing we do can stop it. But it's never, ever your fault. Lucia sobbed silently against her chest, her small body shaking. And I'm not going anywhere, Naomi continued, the words coming from some fierce place deep inside. You hear me? I'm staying right here. She meant it. God help her, she meant it, even though she'd only been here 2 days. Even though this family was clearly tangled up in something dangerous, even though Dante Moretti was cold and complicated and had hurt her with careless words. She meant it. That afternoon, Naomi found herself in the garden with both kids. Jaden ran ahead, discovering the maze while Lucia walked beside Naomi, pointing out different flowers. She couldn't name them, wouldn't speak, but she showed Naomi which ones smelled sweetest, which attracted butterflies. This is beautiful, Naomi said honestly. Do you come out here a lot? Lucia shook her head. Why not? Lucia wrote, Dad doesn't like it. Makes him sad. Because of your mom? A nod. Naomi looked around the garden, immaculate, expensive, lonely. Maybe we can make new memories here, happy ones. Would that be okay? Lucia considered this, then nodded slowly. They walked deeper into the garden, following a stone path that curved around rose bushes and ornamental trees. At the center sat a small marble bench facing a fountain, and behind it, almost hidden by flowering vines, was a gravestone. Elena Moretti, beloved wife and mother. Gone too soon but never forgotten, Naomi's breath caught. This wasn't just a garden, it was a memorial, a shrine to the woman Dante had loved and lost. Oh, she whispered. Lucia walked to the grave slowly, placing her small hand on the stone. Her lips moved silently, forming words only she and her mother could hear. Naomi stood back, giving her space. The weight of this family's grief pressed down like a physical thing. Dante had built walls around his heart, literal walls around his property, to keep the pain contained. And Lucia had stopped speaking because words hadn't saved her mother. They were both trapped in their grief, unable to move forward. Mum, Jaden's voice called from somewhere in the maze. I'm lost. Stay put, Naomi called back. I'm coming. She looked at Lucia. You okay here for a minute? Lucia nodded, still standing by the grave. Naomi hurried toward the maze, following Jaden's voice. She found him at a dead end, laughing despite his predicament. This is so cool, he said. Can we come here every day? We'll see, baby. Come on, let's get back. But when they returned to the center of the garden, Lucia wasn't alone. Dante stood by the grave, his hand on his daughter's shoulder. He wore dark jeans and a black t-shirt, the most casual Naomi had seen him, and his expression was raw, unguarded. He looked up as they approached, and something passed between him and Naomi, an understanding, an acknowledgement of the grief they'd both witnessed. She showed you, he said quietly. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to intrude. You didn't. He looked down at Lucia, who was watching him carefully. I haven't been out here in months. Couldn't stand it. And now? Now I'm wondering why I stayed away. His voice was rough. Elena loved this garden. She planned every flower, every path. She wanted Lucia to grow up playing here. It's beautiful, Naomi said softly. It's a grave. Dante's jaw tightened. I couldn't save her. The doctors said complications, but I should have. He stopped himself, shaking his head. I should have done something. Lucia tugged his hand, her eyes pleading. I know, baby girl, Dante murmured. I know it wasn't my fault, but it feels like it was. He looked at Naomi again, and the vulnerability in his eyes nearly broke her. Thank you, he said, for bringing her here, for not being afraid of the sad parts. Everyone has sad parts, Naomi replied. They don't go away just because we avoid them. Is that from experience? Yeah. Naomi glanced at Jaden, who was examining the fountain with intense concentration. His father, let's just say I understand grief, and I understand building walls to survive it. Dante studied her for a long moment. What made you stop building walls? I didn't. I just learned to put doors in them. She smiled faintly. So people could come in when I was ready. Something shifted in Dante's expression, something almost like hope. Dad, Jaden called suddenly. "This fountain has fish in it. Real fish." He'd called Dante Dad, casually, naturally. Dante froze. Jaden realized his mistake a second later, his face flushing. "I mean, Mr. Moretti, I'm sorry." "It's okay," Dante said, his voice surprisingly gentle. "You can call me Dante, that's fine." But Naomi saw the way his hands trembled slightly, the way he swallowed hard. This man who commanded fear and respect from dangerous people had just been undone by a 7-year-old slip of the tongue. That night, after both kids were in bed, Naomi found herself in the shared living space of their suite, unable to sleep. She was curled up on the couch with a book when a soft knock came at the door. Dante stood in the hallway holding a bottle of wine and looking uncertain. "I know it's late," he said, "but I thought, would you want to talk? About boundaries, expectations, whatever you need to feel safe here." Naomi hesitated, then stepped aside. "Okay." He came in, setting the wine on the coffee table but not opening it. He sat in the chair across from her, keeping distance between them. "What happened with Marcus last night?" he started. "That was unacceptable. I've increased security, changed the locks on this wing. It won't happen again. Thank you. But I need you to understand something about my world." He leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. "I'm not a good man, Naomi. I do things, business things, that aren't always legal, aren't always clean. The people I associate with can be dangerous. I figured that out. Then you should also know that being here, being connected to me and Lucia, puts a target on your back, on Jaden's back. If my enemies want to hurt me, they'll go through the people I care about. Do you care about us?" The question slipped out before Naomi could stop it. Dante's eyes met hers. "My daughter loves you after 2 days. That makes you someone I care about protecting. That's not the same thing." "No," he admitted. "It's not, but it's all I can offer right now." Naomi nodded slowly. "What about what you said at the restaurant about curvy women?" He winced. "I told you. I know what you told me. I want to know if you meant it." Dante was quiet for a long time. "I don't know," he finally said. "I've spent 10 years building this person, this cold, untouchable version of myself. I say things to fit that image, to prove I don't need anyone or anything. But what I think deep down," he shook his head, "I honestly don't know anymore." It was the most honest thing he'd said to her. "Fair enough," Naomi said. "What about you?" Dante asked. "What's your story? The father of your son? What happened?" "Marcus was charming at first, attentive, but after Jaden was born, he changed. Or maybe he just stopped pretending." Naomi's voice was steady, clinical. She'd told this story before. "He drank, got mean. I left when Jaden was 3. Marcus has been fighting me for custody ever since, even though he barely shows up for his visitation days. He sounds like a piece of shit." "That's accurate." Naomi smiled faintly. "But he's Jaden's father, and Jaden still loves him, even though Marcus keeps disappointing him. Kids are resilient like that," Dante said softly. "They keep loving us, even when we don't deserve it." "Is that how you feel about Lucia?" "Every day." His voice cracked slightly. "Every day I look at her and think, you should have had your mother. Someone better than me, someone who knows how to be soft. You were soft with her today, in the garden. That's different. That's—" He stopped, searching for words. "With her, I don't have to be anything. She already knows the worst of me and loves me anyway." "Maybe that's what love is," Naomi said quietly. "Knowing the worst and staying anyway." Dante looked at her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. "Is that what you're doing, staying even though you know the worst?" "I'm staying for Lucia," Naomi said firmly. "Let's be clear about that." "Right." He stood abruptly. "I should go. Thank you for talking." "Dante." He paused at the door. "For what it's worth," Naomi said, "I don't think you're as bad as you think you are." He laughed, a short, bitter sound. "You barely know me. I know you built a memorial garden for your dead wife. I know you stopped a drunk man from getting near your daughter. I know you apologized in writing because you're not good with words." She stood, walking closer. "I know you're trying. That counts for something." Dante stared at her, something raw and desperate in his eyes. For a moment, Naomi thought he might reach for her, might close the distance between them. Instead, he said, "Good night, Naomi," and left. Naomi locked the door behind him and leaned against it, her heart racing. This was dangerous. Not the criminal underworld stuff, though that was bad enough, but this feeling, this pull toward a man who was broken and beautiful and absolutely wrong for her in every way. She needed to be careful. She needed to remember why she was here. But when she climbed into bed that night, her dreams were full of dark eyes and memorial gardens, and the ghost of what-ifs that refused to let her go. The days began to blur together in a rhythm that felt almost normal. Naomi woke early, got both kids fed and dressed, then spent the day working with Lucia. They tried different activities: art, music, reading. Lucia remained silent, but her trust grew. She held Naomi's hand without hesitation now, smiled more, played with Jaden like they'd been siblings forever. Dante appeared sporadically, gone for days on business, then suddenly present for dinner or bedtime stories. He never explained his absences. Naomi never asked, but she noticed things. The way his knuckles were sometimes bruised, the tension in his shoulders when certain phone calls came through, the nights when she heard him pacing in his room down the hall, unable to sleep. Marco, his right-hand man, visited frequently. He was tall, scarred, with eyes that missed nothing. He watched Naomi with open suspicion. "Boss is getting attached," he said one afternoon, cornering her in the kitchen while Carla was elsewhere. "That's dangerous." "He's attached to his daughter," Naomi replied coolly. "I'm just helping her." "Keep telling yourself that." Marco's smile was sharp. "But when this goes sideways, and it will, don't say I didn't warn you." "Warn me about what?" "About what happens to people Dante cares about. Ask his wife." "Oh wait, you can't." The cruelty of it stole Naomi's breath. Marco seemed to realize he'd crossed a line. His expression shifted, something almost like regret flickering there. "Look," he said more quietly, "I'm not trying to be a dick, but Dante's world is violent. The last woman he loved died because of it. You're a good person. You don't belong here." "Neither does Lucia," Naomi shot back. "But she's here, and she needs me, so I'm staying." Marco studied her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "All right, but watch your back, and keep your eyes open. Trust no one." He left her standing there, shaken and angry and more aware than ever that she was living in a world with rules she didn't understand. 2 weeks after moving into the East Wing, Naomi received a call from an unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Naomi." Marcus's voice was slurred, mean. "How's my son?" Her blood turned to ice. "How did you get this number?" "I got friends, baby. Friends who know where you're staying." "Big fancy house, huh? Moving up in the world? What do you want, Marcus?" "I want my son. I got rights. You haven't paid child support in 6 months. You've missed 4 visitation days. You have no rights." "That's where you're wrong." His laugh was ugly. "I got a lawyer now, a good one, and he says I got a real strong case for full custody, especially when the judge hears you're shacking up with some criminal." Naomi's hands shook. "I'm working, that's all." "Sure you are. Living in his house, raising his kid. How long before you're warming his bed too?" "Go to hell, Marcus." She hung up, but the damage was done. Fear coiled in her stomach like a snake. Marcus had connections, money, somehow, from somewhere, and he was right about one thing. Judges looked at situations like this with suspicion. A single mother living in the home of a known criminal, even as an employee, could be seen as unstable, dangerous. She could lose Jaden. That night, she couldn't eat dinner, could barely focus on Lucia's bedtime routine. When Dante knocked on her door around 9, she almost didn't answer, but she did. He took one look at her face and frowned. "What happened?" "Nothing. I'm fine." "You're a terrible liar." He stepped inside without asking, closing the door behind him. "Talk to me. It's personal. It's not—" "Naomi." His voice was firm but gentle. "What happened?" She broke, just collapsed into it, the fear and frustration pouring out in a rush of words. The phone call, Marcus's threats, the custody battle she couldn't afford to fight. Dante listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker with every sentence. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment, then he said, "I can make this go away." "What?" "Marcus. The custody case. All of it. I can make it disappear." Naomi stared at him. "How?" "You don't want to know how." "Dante, he threatened you. He threatened your son. People don't get to do that." His eyes were cold, lethal. "Let me handle it." "No." The word came out sharper than she intended. "No. I don't want your help. Not like that." "Why not?" "Because I'm not that person." Naomi stood, pacing. "I don't solve problems with violence or intimidation or whatever you're suggesting. I handle my own life. Even if it means losing Jaden?" The question hit like a slap. Naomi turned away, tears burning her eyes. Dante moved closer, his voice softer. "I'm not trying to control you. I'm trying to protect you. There's a difference." "Is there?" "Because from where I'm standing, it looks the same." He was quiet. Then, surprisingly, he said, "You're right. I'm sorry." Naomi looked at him in shock. "I'm not good at this," Dante continued. caring about people without trying to control every variable. But I'm trying to learn. He reached out slowly, like approaching a wild animal, and touched her shoulder gently. Tell me what you need. Not what I think you need. What you need. Naomi's breath hitched. The warmth of his hand through her shirt felt like both comfort and danger. I need to fight this the right way, she said. Legal. Clean. I need a good lawyer. Not whatever you were going to do. Done. I know 3 of the best family law attorneys in the state. I'll set up consultations. I can't afford... Consider it a bonus. Part of your employment package. Dante, please. The word sounded unfamiliar in his mouth, like he didn't say it often. Let me do this. The legal way. No violence, no threats. Just let me help. Naomi searched his face. The sincerity there undid her. Okay, she whispered. Okay. Relief washed over his features. His hand was still on her shoulder, warm and steady. They stood like that for a moment, the space between them charged with something Naomi couldn't name. Thank you, she said softly. You don't have to thank me for doing the bare minimum of being a decent human being. You're more than that, Naomi said before she could stop herself. You pretend you're not, but you are. Dante's eyes darkened. His hand slid from her shoulder to her cheek, his thumb brushing away a tear she hadn't realized had fallen. You see things that aren't there, he murmured. I see what you won't let yourself see. They were too close. His breath was warm on her face, his eyes searching hers for something. Permission, maybe, or confirmation that this pull between them wasn't one-sided. Naomi knew she should step back, should rebuild the professional boundaries they'd been eroding since the day she arrived, but she didn't move. Neither did he. The moment stretched, taut and fragile, until a soft knock at the door. Naomi? Lucia's voice small and scared. They jerked apart. Dante stepped back quickly, running a hand through his hair. Naomi opened the door. Lucia stood there in her pajamas, tears streaming down her face. Bad dream, honey? Naomi knelt down, pulling her close. Lucia nodded against her shoulder, then saw her father standing in the room. Her eyes widened. It's okay, Dante said gently. I was just checking on Naomi. Come here, baby girl. Lucia went to him immediately. He lifted her easily, holding her close. Let's get you back to bed, he murmured. But Lucia shook her head, clinging to him. Then she reached out one hand toward Naomi. The message was clear. She wanted them both. Naomi exchanged a look with Dante. He nodded. Together they walked Lucia back to her room. Together they sat on either side of her bed. Together they stayed until she fell asleep, their hands almost touching across the small space where their daughter, where Lucia, slept peacefully between them. When they finally left, Dante paused in the hallway. This is dangerous, he said quietly. I know. I don't mean the custody thing. I mean this. Us. I know that too. He looked at her for a long moment. I can't promise you anything, Naomi. I can't promise I won't hurt you or that my world won't swallow you whole. But I can promise I'll try. To be better, to be someone worthy of... He gestured helplessly. Whatever this is. That's all anyone can promise, Naomi said. Dante nodded once and walked to his room. Naomi returned to her suite, her heart racing. She was falling for him. God help her, she was falling for a man who dealt in violence and lived in shadows. A man who could destroy her life with one wrong move. But she was also falling for the man who held his daughter close and built memorial gardens and apologized in writing because words were hard. The real Dante, the one hiding beneath the armor. And that terrified her more than anything Marcus could ever threaten. The piano arrived on a Thursday morning. Naomi was helping Lucia with her lessons, teaching her to write short stories using pictures, when a delivery truck pulled up to the house. 6 men carried in a beautiful upright piano, glossy black and clearly expensive. Ma'am, one of the movers addressed Naomi. Where do you want this? I think there's been a mistake, Naomi said. We didn't order... It's for Lucia. Carla appeared in the doorway, smiling. Mr. Moretti ordered it last week. Naomi's breath caught. She looked at Lucia, whose eyes had gone wide with wonder. Do you play piano, honey? Naomi asked gently. Lucia shook her head, but she was already moving toward the instrument, her small hands hovering over the keys like they were something precious. Maybe we can learn together, Naomi suggested. The men set up the piano in the corner of Lucia's playroom, near the windows where natural light poured in. After they left, Naomi sat on the bench and patted the space beside her. Lucia climbed up immediately. My mum taught me a little bit when I was your age, Naomi said, positioning Lucia's hands on the keys. Nothing fancy, but I remember some songs. Want to try? Lucia nodded eagerly. They started simple, just basic scales, then a simple melody. Lucia caught on quickly, her face lighting up as music filled the room. Real music, something she could make without words. Jaden wandered in, drawn by the sound. "That's so cool. Can I learn too?" "Of course." Naomi made room for him on the other side. For the next hour, the three of them created music together. Clumsy and off-key sometimes, but joyful. Lucia laughed, actually laughed out loud, the sound so rare and precious that Naomi felt tears prick her eyes. She didn't hear Dante come in. When she finally looked up, he was standing in the doorway, his expression unreadable. His eyes were fixed on Lucia, on her smile, her laughter, the way she moved her hands confidently across the keys. "You're good at this," he said quietly, addressing Naomi. "It's easy when the student is eager," Naomi replied, equally quiet so as not to disturb the kids playing. "Thank you," Dante said, "for the piano suggestion. I didn't know she'd take to it like this." "I never suggested a piano." His expression shifted. "Caught? No? No. But it was a good idea." Naomi smiled softly. "A really good idea." Dante looked away, uncomfortable with the praise. "She needs outlets. Things that don't require talking." "She does," Naomi agreed. "But someday if she wants to talk again, she will. We can't force it. We just have to be ready when it happens. And if it never happens, then we love her anyway, exactly as she is." Dante's jaw worked. He nodded once and left without another word, but Naomi saw the way his hands trembled slightly, the way he blinked hard against emotions he wouldn't let himself feel. This man was breaking open, piece by piece. And she was terrified of what would happen when all those carefully constructed walls finally came down. That afternoon, while the kids napped, Naomi met with one of the lawyers Dante had arranged. Catherine Wells was sharp, professional, and reassuringly no-nonsense. They met in Dante's home office, a room Naomi had never entered before, all dark wood and leather furniture. "I've reviewed the preliminary information you sent," Catherine said, settling into her chair. "Your ex-husband's case is weak. He has no stable income, missed visitation, unpaid child support. Any judge will see through this." "But," Naomi prompted, hearing the unspoken caveat, "but he's going to make your living situation an issue. Working for Dante Moretti, living in his home, that raises questions." "I'm employed. I have a contract." "I know, and we'll make that clear. But I need you to be honest with me." Catherine leaned forward. "Is there anything happening here that could be used against you? Any relationship beyond employer-employee?" "No," Naomi said firmly. "It's professional." Catherine studied her for a long moment. "Good. Keep it that way. At least until the custody case is resolved. Any hint of impropriety and Marcus's lawyer will use it to paint you as unstable." The words landed like stones. Naomi nodded, her stomach churning. "I'll file a motion to dismiss," Catherine continued. "It should be resolved within 60 days. In the meantime, document everything. Every interaction with Marcus, every payment, every missed visitation. We need a paper trail." After Catherine left, Naomi sat in the office alone, feeling the weight of the next 2 months pressing down on her. 60 days of being careful, of maintaining distance from Dante even though every instinct pulled her toward him. She could do 60 days. She had to. The shift was subtle, but undeniable. Naomi pulled back, kept conversations professional, avoided being alone with Dante, focused entirely on Lucia and Jaden. If Dante noticed, he didn't comment. But she caught him watching her sometimes, confusion and hurt flickering across his features before he rebuilt that cold mask. A week after meeting with Catherine, Naomi was reading to Lucia before bed when the little girl suddenly grabbed her notebook and wrote, "Why are you sad?" "I'm not sad, honey." Lucia shook her head firmly, underlining the words. "Yes, you are." Naomi sighed. "Kids saw everything. I'm just stressed. Adult stuff. Nothing for you to worry about." "Is it my dad?" "No. Well, not exactly." Naomi chose her words carefully. "Sometimes adults have to make difficult choices about what's right and what's safe, that's all." Lucia considered this, then wrote, "He's sad, too." Naomi's heart clenched. "I know. He likes you." Lucia looked up at her with those dark, knowing eyes. "I like you too. I want you to stay." "I'm not going anywhere," Naomi promised, pulling her close. "I already told you that, remember? No matter what happens with your dad, I'm staying for you. Always." Lucia held her tight, her small body shaking slightly. When she pulled back, she wrote one more thing. Don't let him be alone. He's scared of being alone. The words pierced Naomi's carefully constructed defenses. She looked at this 7-year-old child who understood her father's pain better than anyone, who carried the weight of his grief alongside her own. "Okay," Naomi whispered. "I won't let him be alone." She found Dante in the garden that night. He sat on the bench near Elena's grave, a glass of whiskey in his hand, staring at nothing. "You're going to catch a cold," Naomi said softly, approaching slowly. He didn't look surprised to see her. "Can't sleep?" "No." She sat beside him, leaving space between them. "You?" "I don't sleep much anymore." They were quiet for a moment. The garden was beautiful at night, moonlight turning everything silver, the fountain's gentle burble, the only sound. "I talked to my lawyer," Naomi said finally. "She thinks the custody case will be dismissed." "Good. That's good. But she also said I need to be careful about my relationship with you. Any hint of impropriety, and Marcus's lawyer will use it." Dante's jaw tightened. "So you've been avoiding me? I've been being professional." "Bullshit." He finally looked at her, his eyes blazing. "You've been treating me like a stranger, like we didn't spend 2 weeks building something real." "We were building something dangerous," Naomi countered. "Something that could cost me my son." "So what? We just pretend there's nothing here? We go back to being employer and employee? For 60 days, that's all. Just until the case is resolved." Dante laughed bitterly. 60 days, right, because that's how feelings work. You can just turn them off for 2 months. I'm trying to protect my child. And I'm trying to protect mine. He stood abruptly, pacing. "Do you know what it's been like, watching you pull away? Watching Lucia notice and ask why you're sad? She writes me notes, Naomi. She asks why you don't smile at me anymore." Naomi's eyes burned. "This isn't fair." "No, it's not. None of this is fair. But it's real." He moved closer, his voice dropping. "What we're feeling, what's happening between us, that's real. And pretending it's not doesn't make it go away. What do you want me to do?" Naomi stood, facing him. "Risk losing Jaden? Risk everything I've worked for? I want you to trust me, to let me help you fight this the right way. You are helping. You got me the lawyer. That's not what I mean." He reached out, almost touching her face, then dropped his hand. "I mean, trust me with this. With us. Trust that I won't let anything happen to you or Jaden. You can't promise that." "No," he admitted, "but I can promise I'll do everything in my power to protect what matters. And you matter, Naomi. You and your son. You matter to me." The words hung between them, raw and vulnerable and terrifying. "Dante!" A sound from the house made them both turn. Marco appeared on the patio, his expression urgent. "Boss, we got a problem." Dante's entire demeanor shifted instantly, from vulnerable to lethal in a heartbeat. "What kind of problem?" "The kind we need to discuss inside, now." Dante looked at Naomi, conflict clear in his eyes. Then he nodded. "Go back inside, lock your door. Don't open it for anyone but me or Carla." "What's happening? Just do it, please." The please decided her. Naomi hurried back to the house, her heart pounding. She checked on both kids, still sleeping peacefully, then locked herself in the living room, waiting. 20 minutes later, raised voices echoed from downstairs, male voices, angry and sharp, then silence. 30 minutes. An hour. At midnight, a soft knock came at her door. "Naomi, it's me." She opened it. Dante stood there, his shirt untucked, his hair disheveled. There was blood on his knuckles. "Are you hurt?" she asked immediately. "Not my blood." "Dante, can I come in?" She stepped aside. He entered slowly, looking exhausted, defeated. "What happened?" Naomi asked gently. "Vincent Rossi." The name came out like a curse. "He's a rival, controls territory on the east side. We've had an understanding for years. Stay out of each other's way. And apparently he's decided to test that understanding. He's been asking questions about me, about my household, about you." Naomi's blood ran cold. "Why me?" "Because he knows the fastest way to hurt me is through the people I care about." Dante's eyes met hers. "I need to know you're safe, you and the kids. I'm increasing security. No one goes in or out without my approval." "You're making us prisoners." "I'm keeping you alive." His voice was harsh. "Vincent doesn't play nice. If he thinks he can use you to get to me..." He stopped, his jaw working. "I won't let that happen. This is your world," Naomi said slowly. "This is what you meant when you said being here puts a target on our backs." "Yes, and you can't stop it. I can manage it. I can protect you. But I need you to listen to me. No more walks outside the estate. No trips to town without armed security. No..." "Dante." She touched his arm gently. "Breathe." He looked at her hand on his arm like it was a lifeline. Then, Slowly, he reached up and covered it with his own. "I can't lose you," he said hoarsely. "I can't lose Lucia. I already lost Elena because I couldn't protect her. I won't make that mistake again. Elena died in childbirth. That wasn't your fault. She died because the stress of my life, the constant threats, the violence, it caused complications. The doctors said so. My world killed her." Naomi's heart broke for him, for the guilt he'd been carrying all these years. "Listen to me," she said firmly, stepping closer. "Your world is dangerous. I'm not naive about that. But Elena chose to be with you. She chose to have a child with you. Those were her choices, made with full knowledge of the risks. She didn't know." "Yes, she did. Women always know." Naomi squeezed his hand. "She loved you enough to take that risk. And whatever happened, it wasn't because you didn't protect her. Sometimes bad things just happen and there's no one to blame." Dante stared at her, his eyes bright with unshed tears. "How do you do that?" "Do what?" "Make me feel like maybe I'm not completely broken." "You're not broken," Naomi whispered. "You're just hurt. There's a difference." He pulled her close suddenly, wrapping his arms around her. Not romantic, just desperate, like he was drowning, and she was the only solid thing in his world. Naomi held him, feeling his heart race against her chest, feeling the tremors running through his powerful frame. "I need to tell you something," he said against her hair. "Something I should have said weeks ago." "What?" "That day at the restaurant, when I said I don't date curvy women. That was a lie, a stupid, cruel lie I told because I was showing off for people whose opinions don't matter. The truth is," he pulled back to look at her, "the truth is, you're beautiful, stunning. And it scared the hell out of me because I looked at you and felt something I hadn't felt in years. So I said something awful to push you away before you could get close." Naomi's breath caught. "Dante, I'm sorry for hurting you, for being a coward, for—" He touched her face gently. "For everything." She should step back, should remember Catherine's warning about impropriety, should think about the custody case and the next 60 days. But instead, she reached up and covered his hand with hers, holding it against her cheek. "I forgive you," she whispered. Relief washed over his features. Then, very slowly, he leaned down and pressed his forehead to hers. They stood like that for a long moment, breathing together, existing in this fragile space where danger and tenderness collided. "I should go," Dante finally said. "Let you sleep. Stay." The word escaped before Naomi could stop it. "Just for a little while until we both calm down." He nodded and they moved to the couch. They sat at opposite ends, but their hands found each other in the middle, fingers intertwining. They talked until dawn, about Elena and Marcus, about their fears for their children, about the weight of carrying grief no one else could see. When the first light broke through the windows, Dante kissed her knuckles gently and stood. 60 days, he said quietly. "We'll do this right. We'll keep our distance until your custody case is resolved. But after that," his eyes held hers, "after that, I'm done pretending I don't feel this." "Okay," Naomi whispered. 60 days. He left, and Naomi sat alone in the pre-dawn light, knowing she'd just made a promise she wasn't sure she could keep, because 60 days suddenly felt like an eternity. The routine continued, but everything had changed. They were careful around each other, professional in front of staff and children, but in stolen moments, a brush of hands in the hallway, a shared look across the dinner table, the connection thrummed between them like a live wire. Lucia continued to improve. She played piano daily, filling the house with music. She drew constantly, her pictures showing 4 figures now. Her, Naomi, Jaden, and Dante, always together. Jaden thrived in the estate's safety, his laughter echoing through rooms that had been silent for too long. And Naomi found herself falling deeper into this life, this family, this dangerous love that promised both everything and nothing. 3 weeks after the conversation in the garden, Naomi was helping Lucia with a music workbook when the little girl suddenly stopped. Her hand moved to her throat, and her mouth opened slightly. "Honey?" Naomi asked. "You okay?" Lucia's eyes were wide, almost frightened. Her lips moved, forming a word. "It's okay," Naomi said gently. "Whatever you want to say, it's okay." Lucia tried again. This time, sound came out, barely a whisper, rough with disuse, but unmistakable. "Naomi." The word, her name, hung in the air like a miracle. Naomi's eyes filled with tears. "Yes, yes, baby, I'm here." "Naomi," Lucia said again, stronger this time. Then tears streamed down her face. I said it. I talked." You did. Naomi pulled her close, sobbing. "I'm so proud of you." Footsteps pounded down the hallway. Dante burst into the room, his face alarmed. What happened? I heard. He stopped, stared at them both. Dad, Lucia whispered, her first word to him in over a year. Dante's knees nearly buckled. He crossed the room in 3 strides and dropped to his knees in front of his daughter, his hands shaking as he cupped her face. Baby girl, he choked out. Say it again, please. Dad. Lucia threw her arms around his neck. I miss talking to you. Dante held her like she was made of glass and diamonds, his shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Naomi watched them, her own tears falling freely. When Dante finally looked up, his eyes met Naomi's over Lucia's head. The gratitude there, the love, was almost too much to bear. Thank you, he mouthed. Naomi nodded, unable to speak. This moment, this beautiful, broken open moment, was worth every risk, every danger, every impossible choice, because this was family. Real, messy, hard-fought family. And Naomi knew with absolute certainty that she would fight to keep it, no matter what came next, even if it destroyed her. That night, after Lucia had finally exhausted herself talking, making up for a year of silence with a flood of words, Dante came to Naomi's suite. His eyes were red-rimmed, his smile unguarded for the first time since she'd known him. She won't stop talking, he said, his voice full of wonder. She's been telling me everything, about her dreams, her fears, her favorite foods, things I should have known but didn't because I couldn't hear her. You were always listening, Naomi said softly. You just needed her to be ready. Because of you, she spoke because of you. She spoke because she was ready. I just made her feel safe enough to try. Dante moved closer, his eyes intense. You make all of us feel safe. Do you know that? In a world that's never been safe, you walked in and made it possible to breathe again. Dante, I know. 60 days. We have 37 left. He reached out, tucking a curl behind her ear with infinite gentleness. But I need you to know something. When this is over, when your custody case is resolved and you're free to make choices without fear, I'm going to ask you something. What? To stay. Not as Lucia's caregiver, not as an employee, but as, he searched for words, as someone who belongs here, with us, with me. Naomi's breath hitched. That's a lot to promise. I'm not promising. I'm declaring intent. His smile was soft, vulnerable. You can say no. You can walk away. But I need you to know that I'm falling for you. Have been since the moment you stood up to me in that restaurant. And I'm done pretending otherwise. He left before Naomi could respond, leaving her standing in the doorway, her heart racing and her mind spinning. 37 days. 37 days until she could let herself fall completely. Until she could stop being careful and start being honest about what she wanted. And what she wanted, God help her, was him. All of him. Broken pieces. And all. The letter arrived on a Tuesday morning. Naomi found it slipped under her door. A plain white envelope with no return address. Her hands shook as she opened it. Inside was a photograph of Jaden. He was walking out of the estate's front gates with Carla, heading to the small park down the road where they went twice a week. The photo was taken from across the street, close enough to be clear, close enough to be a threat. Beneath the photo, written in neat block letters, leave the estate or the boy disappears. At the bottom a signature, V.R. Vincent Rossi. Naomi's vision blurred, her legs gave out and she sank to the floor, the letter clutching in her trembling hands. This was real. This was happening. Someone had photographed her son, had been watching him, could take him. She didn't remember standing, didn't remember walking to Dante's office, but suddenly she was there, bursting through the door without knocking. Dante looked up from his desk, Marco beside him reviewing documents. Both men saw her face and immediately stood. What happened? Dante crossed to her in 2 strides. Naomi handed him the letter wordlessly. His expression went from concerned to murderous in seconds. When did this arrive? Just now, under my door. Impossible. We have security. He turned to Marco. How the hell did someone get inside? I'll find out. Marco's voice was ice. He took the letter, examining it. This was hand-delivered, recently. The paper's still crisp. We have cameras on every entrance, every hallway. Then someone on staff is compromised. Marco met Dante's eyes. We have a leak. The words landed like a bomb. Naomi felt her knees threaten to give out again. Dante caught her, his arm around her waist. Sit, he commanded gently, guiding her to a chair. Then to Marco, lockdown, now. No one leaves. No one enters. Review every second of security footage from the last 24 hours and find Jayden and Carla. Bring them back immediately. Marco was already on his phone barking orders. Dante knelt in front of Naomi, his hands on her knees. Look at me. Jayden is safe. He's with Carla, who's trained in security. We'll have them back here in 5 minutes. Do you understand? Naomi nodded, but tears streamed down her face. He photographed my son. He's been watching us. And that's the last time he'll get close. Dante's voice was lethal. I promise you Vincent just made the biggest mistake of his life. What are you going to do? Whatever it takes. His eyes burned with cold fury. He threatened a child, my home, you. There are rules even in my world, and he just broke all of them. The office door burst open. Carla rushed in, Jayden's hand in hers. The boy looked confused but unharmed. Mom? He ran to Naomi, who grabbed him and held on like he might disappear. What's wrong? Nothing, baby. Nothing. I needed to see you. Dante stood, addressing Carla. You saw nothing unusual? No one following you? No, sir. We took the usual route. Stayed within sight of the gates. I had my sidearm the whole time. Carla's face was pale. I would never let anything happen to him. I know. Dante's voice softened slightly. This isn't your fault, but from now on, no one leaves the estate. Not until this is handled. Understood. After Carla left, Dante turned to Naomi. I need you to take Jayden and Lucia to the safe room. It's in the east wing behind my bedroom. Marco will show you. Safe room? Naomi's voice cracked. Reinforced walls, separate ventilation, emergency supplies. It's precautionary. You'll be comfortable there until I get back. Get back from where? Dante's jaw tightened. From ending this. No. Naomi stood, still holding Jayden. You can't just... Dante, if something happens to you, nothing's going to happen to me. He touched her face gently. But I need to know you're safe. All three of you, please do this for me. Lucia appeared in the doorway, her expression frightened. She'd been talking for 3 weeks now, but fear still sometimes stole her words. Dad? What's happening? Just some business, baby girl. Dante crossed to her, kneeling down. I need you to be brave. Can you do that? Can you stay with Naomi and Jayden in the safe place? Lucia looked between her father and Naomi, then nodded. Are you coming back? Always, I always come back. He kissed her forehead. I love you. I love you too, Dad. Marco led them through Dante's bedroom, a space Naomi had never seen, surprisingly sparse and clean, to a door hidden behind a bookshelf. The safe room beyond was larger than expected, furnished with beds, a small kitchen area, entertainment systems. Everything you need is here, Marco explained. Food, water, medical supplies. The door locks from the inside. Don't open it for anyone except Dante or me. We'll use a code word, butterfly. If anyone tries to get you out without that word, don't open the door. How long will we be here? Naomi asked. Marco's expression was grim. Hours. Maybe a day. Depends on how quickly we locate Vincent. After Marco left, the door sealing shut with a heavy thunk, Naomi sat on one of the beds, with both kids pressed against her sides. Mom, Jayden said quietly, are we in danger? Naomi wanted to lie, to tell him everything was fine, but he was 7, old enough to sense truth from fiction. Someone wants to scare us, she said carefully, but Dante won't let them. He's protecting us. Like a superhero? Jayden's voice was small. Yeah, baby. Like a superhero. Lucia gripped Naomi's hand tightly. What if something bad happens to Dad? It won't, Naomi said with more confidence than she felt. Your dad is strong and smart. He'll be okay. But inside, her heart was breaking. Because Dante was walking into danger because of her. Because she and Jayden had brought this threat into his life. The hours crawled by. Naomi kept the kids occupied with games and movies, but every sound outside the door made her jump. Every minute that passed felt like an eternity. 6 hours, 8, 10. Finally, at nearly midnight, a knock came at the door. Butterfly, Dante's voice called. It's me. Naomi fumbled with the lock, yanking the door open. Dante stood there, blood on his shirt, a cut above his eyebrow, but alive, whole. Is it over? She asked. It's over. Naomi threw her arms around him, not caring about the blood or the kids watching or anything, except that he was here, breathing, safe. Don't ever scare me like that again, she whispered fiercely. I won't. His arms tightened around her. Vincent's been dealt with. He won't be a problem anymore. What does that mean? It means you don't have to worry. Dante pulled back, his eyes serious. The threat is gone. You're safe. Lucia launched herself at her father, wrapping around him like a koala. Dante lifted her easily, despite his obvious exhaustion. "I was so scared," Lucia said, her voice muffled against his neck. "I know, baby girl, I'm sorry, but it's over now, I promise." Jaden hung back, uncertain. Dante noticed, extending his free arm. "Come here, buddy." Jaden went, and Dante pulled him close, holding both children like they were precious beyond measure. Naomi watched them, her heart so full it hurt. This was her family, broken and complicated and born from tragedy, but hers. The next morning, Catherine Wells called with news that made Naomi's knees weak with relief. Marcus withdrew his custody petition, the lawyer said, her voice professionally neutral but clearly pleased. His lawyer filed the paperwork this morning. The case is dismissed. What? Why? The official reason is personal circumstances. But between you and me, someone scared him off. He won't be bothering you again. After the call ended, Naomi found Dante in his office. He looked up from his computer as she entered, his expression carefully neutral. "You did something," she said without preamble. "I did many things. You'll have to be more specific." Marcus withdrew his petition. "What did you do?" Dante leaned back in his chair. "I had a conversation with him. Explained that continuing to harass you would have consequences. He saw reason. What kind of consequences? The legal kind. Turns out Marcus has been embezzling from his employer. Funny how those things come to light when someone looks closely enough." Dante's smile was cold. "I suggested he might want to focus on not going to prison rather than pursuing a custody case he'd never win." Naomi stared at him. "You blackmailed him. I encouraged him to make better choices." "Dante, he threatened you. He threatened your son. Did you expect me to do nothing?" Dante stood, moving around the desk. "I promised to handle this the legal way, and I did. No violence, no threats. Just information and leverage. That's still what you needed." He stopped in front of her. "Sometimes the right thing isn't the cleanest thing. Sometimes protection means getting your hands dirty, so the people you love don't have to. The people you love." The words hung between them. 37 days, Naomi whispered. "What?" "That's how many days were left, until I could." She looked up at him, her eyes bright. "The custody case is resolved. The threat from Vincent is gone. We're safe." Understanding dawned on Dante's face. "Naomi, you said you were falling for me, that you'd wait until I was free to make choices without fear." She stepped closer. "I'm free now, and I choose you." Dante's breath caught. "You don't have to. We can still wait. I'm tired of waiting. I'm tired of being careful." She reached up, touching his face gently. "I love you. I've loved you for weeks. Maybe since that first day when you looked at Lucia holding my hand like it was a miracle. I love your broken pieces, and your careful kindness, and the way you love your daughter more than anything. I love you." "Naomi." Her name was a prayer on his lips. "I don't deserve you. Probably not. But I'm choosing you anyway." He kissed her then, finally, after weeks of restraint and careful distance. His lips were gentle at first, questioning, then deeper as she responded. One hand tangled in her hair, the other at her waist, pulling her closer. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante rested his forehead against hers. "I love you," he said hoarsely. "God help me. I love you so much." "Then show me." Naomi smiled through tears. "Show me what it looks like when you stop hiding." "It looks like this." He kissed her again, slower this time. "It looks like breakfast with our kids every morning. It looks like teaching Lucia piano and taking Jaden to baseball games. It looks like memorial gardens that aren't just graves anymore, but places where we build new memories." He pulled back, cupping her face in both hands. "It looks like family. Real, messy, beautiful family." "I want that," Naomi whispered. "All of it. Then stay. Not as an employee. Not as Lucia's caregiver. Stay as mine. As ours." "Okay. Okay. Yeah." Naomi laughed, giddy with relief and joy. "Okay. I'll stay." Dante swept her up, spinning her around. She laughed, and the sound filled the room, filled the whole house, with something it hadn't held in years: hope. They told the kids that night over dinner. Lucia cried happy tears and demanded they all hold hands around the table. Jaden asked if this meant Dante was going to be his dad for real, and when Dante said yes, if that was okay, the boy launched himself across the table for a hug. Over the next weeks, they settled into their new reality. Naomi moved her things into Dante's room, slowly, tentatively, learning to share space with someone again, learning to trust. Dante was different too, softer. He still dealt with business, still disappeared sometimes for meetings Naomi didn't ask about. But he came home every night, held her while they slept, kissed her goodbye every morning like it might be the last time. Lucia thrived. She talked constantly now, making up for lost time. She took to calling Naomi Mom naturally, without fanfare, and the first time it happened, Naomi cried for an hour. Jaden and Lucia became inseparable, actual siblings in every way that mattered. Catherine Wells called to officially close Naomi's case file. "Whatever you're doing," she said, "keep doing it. You look happy." "I am," Naomi replied, and meant it. 2 months after the threat from Vincent ended, Dante took Naomi to the memorial garden. They'd been coming here regularly now, sometimes with the kids, sometimes alone. The space felt different, less like a tomb and more like a sanctuary. "I need to tell you something," Dante said, sitting on the bench beside Elena's grave. Naomi sat beside him, their hands automatically finding each other. "What?" "I used to come here and talk to her. Elena, I'd apologize for surviving, for moving on, for living when she couldn't." He looked at the gravestone. "But today I came here and realized I don't feel guilty anymore. I feel grateful. Grateful for having known her, for Lucia, for the time we had." He turned to Naomi. "And for what I have now, with you. I think she'd want this, want me to be happy again, want Lucia to have a mother who loves her." Tears slipped down Naomi's cheeks. "I think so too." "There's something else." Dante reached into his pocket, pulling out a small velvet box. "I'm not asking. Not yet. We haven't been together long enough, and I want to do this right. But I want you to know my intentions. I want you to know this is forever for me." He opened the box. Inside was a simple gold band with a small diamond, elegant and understated. "When you're ready," Dante continued, his voice rough with emotion, "when enough time has passed and you're sure this is what you want, I'm going to ask you to marry me, to be Lucia's mother legally, to be my wife, my partner, my family." Naomi's hand shook as she touched the ring. "Dante, you don't have to answer now. Take your time. Take all the time you need. But I wanted you to know, this isn't temporary for me. This is forever. Ask me," Naomi whispered. "What?" "Ask me now." She looked at him through tears. "I don't need more time. I know what I want. So ask me." Dante stared at her for a long moment, then slowly got down on one knee. "Naomi Blake, will you marry me? Will you be my wife, Lucia's mother, and my partner in this beautiful, messy, complicated life?" "Yes." The word came out as a sob. "Yes. 1,000 times yes." He slipped the ring on her finger with shaking hands, then stood and kissed her like she was oxygen, and he'd been drowning. Naomi kissed him back, pouring every ounce of love and hope and trust into it. When they pulled apart, both crying and laughing, Dante whispered, "Thank you." "For what?" "For seeing past the monster, for finding the man underneath, for choosing us." "Always," Naomi promised. "I'll always choose us." They sat together on that bench as the sun set, surrounded by flowers and memories and the promise of tomorrow. Two broken people who'd found wholeness in each other, and it was enough, more than enough. It was everything. Epilogue. 6 months later. The estate's new learning wing was Naomi's pride and joy. 3 bright rooms filled with books, art supplies, musical instruments, and learning materials. She'd transformed it from an unused section of the house into a space where Lucia, and now 5 other children from the neighborhood, came to learn and play. Today was recital day. Parents filled the small auditorium Dante had built, watching as the kids performed pieces they'd learned over the past months. Lucia sat at the piano, her hands confident on the keys. She played a piece by Debussy, complex and beautiful. When she finished, the room erupted in applause. She stood, bowing, then looked directly at Naomi and smiled. "That's my daughter," Dante whispered, his arm around Naomi's waist. "That's our daughter," Naomi corrected. The adoption had been finalized last month. Naomi was officially Lucia's mother now, legally and permanently. The ceremony had been small, just immediate family and Marco, who'd surprised everyone by crying. Jaden performed next, playing a simpler piece, but with enthusiasm that made up for technical imperfection. He'd grown 3 inches in the past 6 months, his confidence blooming under Dante's steady attention and praise. After the recital, they gathered in the garden for refreshments. The same garden that had once been a shrine to grief was now filled with laughter and life. Children ran through the paths, parents chatted, and the fountain bubbled merrily. Marco appeared at Dante's elbow. "Boss, there's something you should see." Dante tensed immediately, his protective instincts firing. What kind of something? The good kind. Marco smiled, rare for him, and gestured toward the gate. A delivery truck was pulling in. Several men began unloading boxes, all addressed to the Moretti Blake Learning Center. What? Naomi started. I may have mentioned your program to some business associates, Dante said, trying to sound casual. They wanted to contribute. Books, supplies, equipment, enough to expand if you wanted to. Naomi stared at the growing pile of boxes, then at her husband. You did this. You're changing lives here. I just wanted to make sure you had the resources to keep doing it. She kissed him, right there in front of everyone. Several parents applauded. The kids cheered. When they broke apart, Lucia ran up with Jaden close behind. Mom, Dad, can we go swimming? Please. After we clean up, Naomi said, and only if we promise to be safe and listen to adults. We know. Lucia rolled her eyes with all the dramatic flair of an 8-year-old. Can Jaden's friend come over tomorrow? We want to show him the maze. We'll see, Dante said, ruffling her hair. The kids ran off, already planning their next adventure. Naomi leaned against Dante's side, watching their family, because that's what it was now, all of it. The whole chaotic, beautiful mess. Celebrate in the garden. Are you happy? Dante asked softly. Deliriously. Naomi looked up at him. You? I didn't think I could be. After Elena, after everything, I thought maybe I'd used up my quota of happiness. But then you walked into my life and proved me wrong. He kissed her forehead. Every single day, you prove me wrong. Good. That's my job now. Proving you wrong and loving you. Best job description ever. As the sun set over the estate, painting everything gold, Naomi thought about the journey that had brought her here. The pain and fear and impossible choices. The moment she'd overheard cruel words, and the moment she'd decided to stay anyway. Every step had been worth it. Every risk, every tear, every terrifying leap of faith. Because this life, this love, this family was worth fighting for. And Naomi knew with bone-deep certainty that she'd keep fighting for it every single day for the rest of her life. I love you, she whispered. I love you too, Dante replied. Always. In the garden where grief had once lived, hope bloomed instead, and the Moretti Blake family, broken, healed, and whole, lived happily ever after. Not because life was perfect, but because love made it worth living anyway. The end.